It was supposed to be a simple weekend hike, nothing extreme. Just me and Daniel, two friends trying to unplug from work and life for a few days. We'd done a few trails around the Appalachians before, but this one was new. A stretch of forest near Black Hollow, not far from an abandoned ranger station. The kind of place you don't find unless you're really looking. Which, of course, Daniel was. He had a thing for weird trails. One's not on Google Maps. Old logging roads. Faded paths you find by accident. He said they felt more real. Looking back, I should have turned us around the moment we stepped off the marked path. The air changed the second we crossed into the tree line. Cooler. Still, the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. At first, we joked about it, called it Blair Witch vibes. But as the sun dipped and the trail narrowed, the mood shifted. The canopy grew thicker, light filtered down in slats, and I had this weird sensation like we were being watched. Around 5 p.m., we reached a clearing where we decided to set up camp. No cell signal, but the GPS still sort of worked. Enough to know we were deep in the woods. That night, we made a fire, ate some freeze-dried crap, talked about dumb high school stuff. It almost felt normal, until I woke up at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of crunching leaves. I sat up, heart pounding. The fire had gone out, and Daniel's sleeping bag was empty. "Dan," I whispered. No response. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out of the tent. "Daniel?" Still nothing. I started sweeping the beam around the trees, and then,
"Over here!"
he called. His voice, clear as day. I followed it, pushing through the underbrush. The light bounced between trees. My pulse pounded in my ears.
"Come on, man!"
He shouted again, laughing now. I picked up the pace. Dude, not funny, but I never caught up. His voice kept moving, just out of reach. After about 10 minutes, the trail vanished completely. And so did his voice. I stood in the middle of nowhere, flashlight flickering, calling his name into the void. No answer. I searched until dawn. By morning, I made my way back to camp. Daniel's bag was still there. His boots, his phone, everything but him. I hiked out alone and called search and rescue. They combed the area for days. Nothing. No tracks. No signs of a struggle. No body. They chalked it up to a wild animal or Daniel getting lost. But I know what I heard. He was leading me somewhere. And whatever it was, it wasn't really him. 2 weeks later, I went back. I know. Stupid. But I had to. Something kept clawing at the back of my mind. Like unfinished business. I returned to the trailhead alone. Brought extra batteries, gear, a flare gun. I stayed one night, just one. At 3:17 a.m., I heard it again.
"Over here!"
Daniel's voice. Same tone, same laugh. Only this time, I didn't follow it. I stayed in the tent, clutching a knife and waiting for dawn. When I got home, I started researching. Turns out Black Hollow has a history. Disappearing hikers. Stories going back decades. No remains. No explanations. Locals say the woods keep certain people. Others say they copy them, like echoes with teeth. And the worst part? They don't want you to come alone. They want you to bring someone with you. It's been 6 months. I still hear him sometimes. Sometimes when I'm outside late at night, or when I walk by the woods near my apartment. The same voice.
"Hey, over here!"
Sometimes it's closer than it should be. Sometimes it sounds like it's inside the house. I haven't hiked since. Haven't camped. I avoid trees if I can help it. But I still dream about that night. And when I do, Daniel always says the same thing.
"Why didn't you follow me?"
I arrived at Pine Rest National Park just before noon, hoping to squeeze in a solo hike before sunset. I had driven 4 hours out of the city to clear my head, to breathe some air that didn't smell like car exhaust and concrete. The trail I picked was called Gray Elk Loop, 10 miles, heavily wooded, and supposedly scenic. I signed in at the visitor center like all hikers were required to, and that's when I first saw him. The ranger. He was tall, probably in his 60s, with leathery skin and a faded green uniform that looked older than the building he was standing in. His badge read Marin.
You hiking gray elk?
He asked. I nodded, smiling. Yeah, should take me 5 hours, give or take. He stared at me for a moment too long before replying.
Just make sure you're back by sunset.
His tone wasn't friendly. It was measured, cold. I chuckled, trying to ease the awkwardness. Is that a curfew? He didn't laugh, just looked out the window.
You don't want to be in those woods after dark.
I thought he was trying to spook a city guy. I thanked him and left, brushing it off. I shouldn't have. The trail started out beautiful. Tall pines arched overhead, and the light filtered through in golden shafts. Birds chirped. I passed 2 other hikers, an older couple who smiled but didn't stop to talk. By mile 3, the trees grew thicker. The path narrowed, and the temperature dropped. Not dramatically, but enough to make me notice. Still, I pressed on. The hike was peaceful, quiet, until around mile 6, when I heard something strange. A rustling, not like a squirrel or bird. It was heavier, thudding footsteps just a few paces off the trail. I stopped, held my breath. The footsteps stopped too. I turned, scanning the woods, but saw nothing. Hello, I called out, voice too loud in the stillness. No reply. I chalked it up to an animal and kept walking. But the feeling didn't go away. That sense that I was being followed, watched. By the time I reached mile 7, the sun was lower than I expected. I checked my watch. 6:15 p.m. Weird. I should have been nearly done by now. That's when I noticed something else. The trees. They were wrong. The bark was darker, almost black, and the air smelled like iron, thick and metallic. I pulled out my phone to check my map. No signal, of course. I picked up my pace, tried to shake off the unease. That's when I saw it. A figure standing just off the trail. Not moving, not waving, just watching. It was the ranger, Marin. I let out a breath of relief and waved. Hey, you scared me. But he didn't answer, just turned around and walked into the woods. Something was off. His walk was stiff, like he wasn't moving right. I called out again. He disappeared behind a thick wall of trees. At this point, I was done. I didn't care how much of the loop was left. I was turning back. But when I turned around, the trail behind me was gone, completely vanished. My footprints were there in the dirt, but the path was swallowed up by undergrowth like it had never existed. Panic started to rise. I spun in circles, trying to orient myself. And then I heard it again. The footsteps, behind me, getting closer. I broke into a sprint. Branches whipped my face, my legs burned, and I had no idea where I was going. I just ran. Behind me, I swear I heard whispering. My name, spoken low and wrong.
Ben.
Then the sun dipped below the horizon, and everything went black. I tripped on something and fell hard, face first into the dirt. When I looked up, I was back on the trail, the real trail, and Ranger Marin was standing 10 feet in front of me, flashlight in hand. He looked furious, or scared, or both.
You stayed past sunset.
He said, voice shaking. I got lost, I stammered. He didn't answer, just motioned for me to follow him. We didn't speak the entire walk back. When we got to the visitor center, he handed me a bottle of water and sat me down.
I warned you,
He said, his voice low.
but you didn't listen.
I swallowed hard. What is out there? He didn't answer at first. Then, finally,
Whatever it is, it wears faces. Faces of people who've gone missing. Faces of rangers who never came back. It tries to lure you off the trail. If it gets you, no one finds you. Not ever.
I stared at him. You saw me out there, I whispered. He nodded.
I haven't worn a hat like that in 20 years.
I blinked. The Marin I saw in the woods had been wearing a ranger hat. This one wasn't. I left the next morning. Didn't hike again for a long time. But sometimes at night, I hear footsteps outside my window, and someone softly whispering my name.
Ben.
We set up camp deep in the forest, me, Kyle, and Danny. It was supposed to be a quick weekend getaway. Just the three of us, no phones, no signal, just trees and sky. The trail we picked wasn't on the park's official map, but Kyle said he found it in a forum for hidden gem hikes. I should have known, then it was a bad idea. The first day was normal. We pitched our tents in a clearing beside a narrow stream. We roasted hot dogs, played cards by lantern light, and laughed ourselves to sleep. But that night, I woke up to the sound of something crawling. It was slow, purposeful, not an animal scurrying or a raccoon rummaging. This was deliberate, like hands dragging through dirt. I held my breath, listening. The crawling stopped right outside my tent. Then something whispered,
Jess.
my name. I froze. My heart thudded in my ears. I whispered, Kyle. No answer. Danny. Still nothing. I waited for what felt like hours until I finally passed out from exhaustion. The next morning, I told him what I heard. Kyle shrugged.
Probably a dream.
Danny looked pale, but nodded.
You were probably half awake.
But I knew I was awake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there with a flashlight in my hand, staring at the tent ceiling. The forest was too quiet. No wind, no bugs, just silence, so heavy it pressed on my chest. Then the crawling started again. Closer this time. I switched on my flashlight, but of course it didn't help. The light barely made it through the tent fabric. Then I heard it again.
Jess.
Right outside the tent flap. My name, in a voice like dry leaves and gravel. I yelled out, "Who's there?" Nothing. Just silence. I unzipped the tent and flashed the light outside. No one. Nothing. But there were drag marks in the dirt. Long, winding trails that stopped inches from my tent. The third night, Danny said she wanted to leave. Kyle insisted we stay one more night and head back in the morning. He joked it was probably a prank by some hiker or a local messing with us. But Danny didn't laugh.
I don't think this place wants us here.
That night, it rained. The sound of droplets hitting the nylon should have been soothing, but it just masked the noise. I almost missed the crawling. Almost. It was louder this time, more frantic. Then came the whisper, but this time it didn't say my name. It said Danny's.
Danny.
I shot up and unzipped my tent. Her light was on. Her tent zipped shut. I called her name. She didn't answer. I ran over and yanked her tent open. She was sitting upright, eyes wide, mouth open, but no sound came out. Just staring. Kyle rushed over. We both tried shaking her, talking to her. Eventually she blinked. It was inside, she whispered. She didn't say anything else for the rest of the night. At dawn, we packed up and left. Danny wouldn't speak. She just walked between us, pale and shaking. Kyle tried to act like everything was fine, but I saw him gripping his pocket knife with white knuckles. When we got to the car, Kyle handed me something he found near the tents. A stone, perfectly round, black and warm to the touch. It had something scratched into it. A symbol, like an eye crossed out by 3 slashes. He said it was in his boot when he woke up. I told him to throw it away. He did. But that night, even in my own bed, I couldn't sleep. Because as soon as the lights went out, I heard it. Crawling. Soft. Deliberate. And from outside my bedroom window, a voice said,
Jess.